Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Well, we just had the 12 hours of Sebring, and maybe some of these drivers are already used to this circuit, but who knows. It is round 3 of this Radical Racing Challenge season. I am Aaron Smith, your host. Joined in the commentary booth is Ron Mons, and in the production booth is Samuli Kumo. And well, Ron, we've seen these drivers struggle these past few weeks with these cars, but what are we expecting going into this race?
Well, I think it may not be as much of a challenge. I mean, you look at some of the tracks that we've raced on so far this season, Zandvoort and Road America, they had some pretty heavy braking zones, and from my experience driving this car, braking was really the biggest challenge. You still have some braking zones here and there at this track, but I don't think the braking is going to be too critical in this race. I still think it's going to be a bit important, obviously. You don't want to just ram into someone, but I don't think it's going to be as much of a challenge as the past 2 races have been.
Well, there's only one way to find out. As we were watching practice and now qualifying, I've seen a few drivers make a few mistakes. I think Woodward was one of those drivers to have made a mistake. As some of these drivers, as you were saying, struggling with that braking still. This car is proving to be a pain to get used to. But I think these guys, now having a few weeks of experience with how this thing handles, they can maybe use it a little bit more than they were at Road America and last week at Zandvoort, as we saw many drivers struggle to just complete a lap, and we saw huge gaps in qualifying. I think from first to last time out it was like 5 seconds, which is just incredible. We're used to this being a nice close battle usually for the top 5, but at the moment it's just about keeping it on the track.
Yeah, it's a matter of survival, really, at this point in the season. And you said, hey, last week was the 12 hours of Sebring. Some of these drivers, this race may feel like it's 12 hours long, just how difficult these cars are to kind of get a grips with. It's just, I mean, just having a list of like what feels off about this car is really, it's a very extensive list. It's just braking, as we see Samoa's go third. It's just braking. Handling the bumps was one big problem I felt while driving this car. It felt like driving a go-kart, really, where you just have no suspension or no bump absorption, like, at all. But I as I said earlier, I don't think this will be as much of a challenge. I still think it will be interesting to see how this race goes. The field is closing up slightly. We do have a split today, so we're going to have a bit higher I rating than we have so far this year. So I think that will bring the competitiveness up a bit. We see Aoni down in 12th right now, 10 seconds off the pole, so I think he must have had some kind of mistake on his qualifying run, which is probably why he's as off as he is. So I mean, we'll see if he can get a good run in. I don't think the field is going to be as spread out as 10.6 seconds. So, I mean, fingers crossed, hope, as we see, yeah, Andreas, Frederick go off there. We're not sure where that was on track. It looked like in the top half of the track, the more permanent section of the racetrack, as we see Rolston go up to the top at a 137.0, 1/10 on pole so far. So, very good lap from him. We'll have to wait and see if that sticks.
Well, of course, the man you're looking at your screen right now, Felix Simoes, being the man to beat this season so far, with second at Road America, and then last time out, the overall winner at Zandvoort. We'll see if on this lap he can stick it on pole, or at least get onto the front row. We know he's got the pace, we know he's got the consistency as he comes around the final corner. Of course, extremely bumpy in these types of cars, absolutely no comfort whatsoever as he rounds the final corner, runs to the line, and Hulkinen goes onto provisional pole with a stonking lap. Wow, surprise from Hulkinen. We've not really seen this from him at all in the past few seasons, but wow, 2/10 ahead of Simoes. Very good lap by the Finn.
Yeah, that's a pretty damn good lap from him. I was tuning into some of these sessions throughout the weekend. Really a 156.6 is really the limit. 156 is really just where a lot of the top guys are running. Earlier today, about 2 hours before this broadcast started, I was tuning into just a random race with these radicals at this track, and Samoa has had a pretty dominant win in that. Of course, different field, different competitors. We'll see if he can transfer a performance like that into this race, but I mean, second is still pretty good position. He's still setting himself up nicely. But yeah, Hulkinen, very good lap from him. 2/10 quicker. That's wow.
Well, I was just looking at their sector times, and it seems like Felix had a pretty poor final sector, and I think maybe he was taking it a bit too easy. But he's still on the front row, but it's Mika Hulkinen then on pole here in Sebring. Felix Simoes lines up alongside him, and then David Rolston putting in a good performance as well in third, Andreas Friedrich in fourth, Myron Iani in fifth, Mick Lord in sixth, Simon Molekliv in seventh place, George Gonzaga in eighth place, Gordon Howard in ninth, and Mike Clark rounds out your top 10. And then for your final few drivers, it's Ivan Ramul, Rafael Peoni, and then in 13th, Robert Woodward, and then your three drivers who didn't set a time, John Cowden, Bruno Myler, and Akram Zinku. In 16th place, I'm not sure if it's a smart idea to not do a lap round here, as this track, it can be very, very chaotic, as if anyone did the Sebring 12-hour, you will know exactly what I'm on about. Our race lasted approximately 1.5 laps before my teammate binned it in a wall and broke our drive shaft and gave us 40-minute repairs. So yeah, I didn't get to do much of Sebring at all, and yep, GG's. I hope some of these drivers maybe had a bit better luck than I did, but this is a much shorter race than the Sebring 12 hours, nowhere near as long, and these guys can kind of treat it like a sort of sprint. These you could say they're baby LMP cars. They are high downforce, and well, some of these drivers, have varying strategies. Of course, we know Samoa's is a cool head. We know he's consistent but quick. We'll see if Hulkinen can hold on to the lead. So just waiting for the final few drivers to line up, and I think we are ready to go. Yes, we are. Just waiting for those 5 iconic lights to come on as we wait for the lights to go out, and we are underway here in Sebring. I think Samoas has got a very, very good start. He's already ahead of Hulkinen, and that is a huge crash in the background already.
Big stack up there. Oh
there's about
boy, that's like
4 cars involved.
Yeah, 4 or 5 cars involved there. Cars spinning all over the place, debris. You saw Woodward involved. That's a very tough break for him. He had a pretty good race last week. Pulled off some pretty good moves. Was very fast towards the end of the race.
Oh, that's Samoes and Hulkinen.
Oh,
that's
no, they
Samoes'
must have
race
made...
over.
Yeah, they must have made contact going into turn 1. I mean, they had it was a pretty even keel start between the two of them, and just... Yeah, we'll get a replay here as we see the carnage going on behind them. And,
wow. You can just see.
Oh,
he loses it by himself. That looks incredibly unnatural. I hope we can get an onboard.
That was a very rare mistake. I think he lost it over the bump. I was saying that the bumps are going to be a bit of an issue. We'll ride on board with him. Keep the bump and keep the steering because...
Oh, dear. Big overcorrection.
I don't think he lost it over the bump. Yeah, just... I don't think he wanted to hit the inside wall, so he just overcorrected into the outside wall, and pretty much both of our picks for the win are essentially out as before the race could even start, as we see Rolston in the lead from 3rd. Oh my god, Coden up 11 positions. Dear Lord, great start from him. He's going to go for 2nd here. Is he going to get the move done? That was very opportunistic through there. It looks like, oh, there we go. He gets the move done.
Yeah, I think Moldecleve was sort of... Yeah, Moldecleve was sort of left out to dry on that outside curb as we're seeing the battle now continue on, but Rolston then sprinting off into the lead. This race has really taken a massive turn on its head as we have that massive crash on the start-finish straight, and our 2 picks for the win pretty much out of contention, and Friedrich as well. And Lord, we had a lot of our top drivers there crashing out in the first corner or even before that. So yeah, one of the most just chaotic starts I've seen. But here is Simon Moldecleve going for another move up into 3rd place. He's making stonking progress, and as you were saying, Cowden up an incredible 12 spots already, and if he can win this race, well, who knows what kind of chat that's gonna ensue after the race. But Hulkinen making another mistake as well further back. He's lost about another 2 or 3 seconds. But wow, we've only really got 7 cars in the running for the fight now. Wow, we're only 1.5 laps in.
Yeah, that was... You know what I think? I was going to point out in the broadcast last week that wheel spin might have been a bit of an issue. I tried leaving the pits in these cars for the first time in a while, and I just spun it on my first time around trying to hit the throttle. So maybe that might have played a bit of a role into how hectic that start was, because that was pretty unnatural. I mean, that was just cars spinning all over the place. Maybe someone fell asleep at the wheel. Yeah, that was... I mean, I've never seen a start crash like that. Certainly a weird incident there. Very weird start, and I think we're setting ourselves up for a weird race already.
Yeah, 100%. It's kind of going to be like Hungary 2021, where all of the top drivers pretty much crashed out, and we just had these drivers who we're not often used to seeing at the front, and it's absolutely fantastic to watch. These guys get given this opportunity, and we will see how they handle it. As I don't think I've seen Rolston really up this high, not in a while, but you know, he's got a good gap in the lead, but Cowden is keeping him honest behind. And yeah, I think this race is going to be absolutely fascinating for these top 7 spots. Although I think Myla in 7th is just starting to drop back a little bit, but Cowden sets the fastest lap of the race, 0.3 of a second quicker than Rolston. And well, if we thought we had an interesting race on our hands, it could get even spicier in the coming laps.
Now, I gotta wonder, I have a quick question for you. Of the guys we have run at the front, who do you think, who do you want to keep your eye on as this race develops? Me personally, I think I would keep an eye on Gonzaga. He has a lot of experience in this car. According to the iRacing series standings, he's run 30+ races in these cars. So I think he has the I think he has a confidence behind the wheel, because as much as experience and pace may be important, it's all about confidence with how edgy this car is, you know, just on the edge of control. It's like driving a 60s F1 car, this thing. So I think having a lot of confidence at, like, you know, when you turn the wheel, you'll be able to hit the corner, hit the apex, and really hit your marks and put in a decent performance. He's staying close to Monteclair. I mean, he's not really pulling on him too much, but he's certainly keeping him honest. So who do you keep your eye on as this race develops?
It's a tough one. I know Gonzaga has that experience behind him, but I just don't know if he has the pace. As you know, we're used to seeing him sort of towards the middle, maybe towards the back half of the grid. But you know, as I said before, he's been given a good opportunity here to get a good result, and we'll see if his experience paid off. But I'm gonna keep my eye on Cowden. I've not really seen too much of him drive this car, but he seems to be flying at the moment. His as they come across the line, I think he's going to set another fastest lap of
He's
the
closing
race.
in that gap. That was about, I mean, it used to be about like a second and a half between the two. Then it got to like 1.2 seconds. Now
Wow,
it's
half a second.
Yeah, very, very close between these two. He's reeling them in slowly. It's not like he's just miles quicker, but I think just the insert the Jaws theme here, you know, dun 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 dun. So I think, I mean, he's just he's sneaky quick, you know. At this point, if he just keeps hitting his marks, does more fastest laps, or even just is faster than Ralston as we see him closing up, he has a straight line speed. I think he has a slipstream. I think he
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think he might have thought about going for a Daniel Ricciardo last in the late breakers move there, but that did not. That was a big mistake from him. He's now, I mean, his gap is nearly doubled. I was gonna say that going into the last corner, he might be a bit of a threat because, I mean, it looks like his car is a missile in the straight line. So, I think had he not pulled off that mistake, I mean, he still has a lot of corners left until we get to that final corner. So, maybe he can close the gap. But I was gonna say that might be the overtaking spot for him, but even still, with that mistake, I think you'd have to look at areas like the final corner, turn 1, and just areas at the end of very long straightaways, because it looks like his car is fast.
Well, of course. Oh, that's Ralston making a mistake, and that allows Cowden to swipe on through. It was spicing up to be such a good battle for the lead, but Ralston, even though he is experienced, has made that mistake and unfortunately has completely given up the lead and given up 3 other spots in the process. He's down now to 4th, and he's going to be absolutely kicking himself with that. But Cowden now is surely going to shoot away. But don't count out Mordecleve in 2nd place. He seems to have some decent pace on him as well. And wow, again, this race absolutely turns on its head. I was going to say that Cowden didn't really look like he was trying to go for into like a move in the hairpin. I think Ralston was just way too early on the brakes, and I think Ralston's really struggling now as he's fallen back another second from this pack. And I thought, you know, we've seen him be fairly consistent over the past few seasons, but you know, given this opportunity in the lead, he's absolutely bottled it, and I thought his experience would come to pay off, but unfortunately for David, it's sadly not meant to be today. And yeah, making more mistakes since that hairpin, it's really gotten into his head.
Yeah, I think it's a mix of just kind of being mentally done for after kind of throwing away the lead and now dropping back. I mean, 4 seconds. You know, that's a very big gap, especially in this race so far. It's been very close so far. So I think it's a mix of him just being really pissed off at himself. I think his tires are red hot after that spin, because overheating tires have been a bit of a concern with this car. So I think that it's just a mix of those two things. He's just dropping back like a rock after that mistake. He's got to be furious with himself, and I can't really blame him. This is a hard corner to get right, you know. It's just, yeah, the bit of a weight transfer as he goes wide again, yeah. And see him go lawn mowing there. I think he might have given up on this race. I can't really blame him. I can imagine he's a bit ticked off. Might need a drink after this. Yeah. Tough break for Ralston. I mean, it looked like the race was in the bag for him. You know, he had a decent qualified in 4th, I believe. He was running up at the front. It was really his race to lose, and he lost it there.
Yeah, even better. I think he qualified in 3rd actually. So, you know, as you were saying, he was given a gift basically by the iRacing gods, and he's unfortunately just I don't know if he just didn't have the mental ability to win this race, but you know, it might also be the car that after you make one mistake, it absolutely ruins the tires, as we learnt last week, that once you make one mistake, it's incredibly difficult to keep this car on the road, and you just keep making more and more and more. But I do also think it is slightly mental that having, well, bottled the lead is one way to put it. It's really gotten into his head, but he's still in this race, still in the top 6, and still fighting for 5th place right now, so we'll see if he can maybe claw something back from this race, as Mike Clark seems to be struggling a little bit coming out of that hairpin. Seemed like the car was just stepping away from him slightly, but at the moment it is John Cowden in the lead, 1.5 seconds. He is putting in some really, really impressive lap times. And again, Mulder Cleve right now also putting in some decent laps, but as you were saying, the man you pipped, oh, and I've jinxed him.
Real wide
Fantastic.
there, yeah, that was... Yeah, I mean, it's just, I guess the weight transfer turns in these cars, you know, a lot of the time it is weight transfer, strange weight balance while you're trying to hit the brakes and these things. As he hits the curb, I'm surprised he didn't go off there. I mean, through that section of the track, the curbs are really high. I always have a trouble dealing with those curbs, especially in an F3 car.
Oh, that's how Joff.
Oh, yeah, he was battling with, I believe he was battling with Rolston there, so could have been contact there. I don't know. That's a very strange place to spin. Maybe just spun it under throttle. You know, I mentioned that again on the gas. It might be a concern in this race. We see a replay. Yeah, going through this section here. Same area where Rolston made a mistake, hit the curb, beached out, and yeah, he hit the curb there. Just, oh, that's a very long spin from him. I'm sure his tires are not very happy with him after that, and I can't really blame him. Tough break for him. I mean, as we see Woodward go on track.
Oh, yeah.
Looking like a dune buggy there. Yeah, that's
wow. I mean, obviously he was one of the drivers involved in that first lap crash, but I think the FIA might have a word to say to him, but we've still got the battle going on for second place. I think Gonzaga might have made a mistake as well. I think for second place it's just going to be who can make the least mistakes. Samuli, if you could quickly check if there was a mistake, because I think there was. And coming into the first few corners, that's extremely wide, and
yeah,
lights it up, and
God.
does he just gives it up.
Oh, he hit the bump there. See, he really got loose going over that bump. Yeah, that's an interesting call. I'm not sure. Maybe he's trying to get the slipstream or something like that. I don't know.
I'm not sure.
I mean,
That's weird.
It's not an oval race. Maybe just, I don't know, brain fart possibly. I don't know. I can't really judge about brain farts, as Gonzaga looks for the move. Wasn't quick enough there. That would have been an awesome move if he managed to pull that off. But yeah, I'm not really sure what Gonzaga was thinking there. Maybe just trying to slot in behind him, as we see him mowing the lawn there. I think both of them went off the track slightly there, hit the dirt. I saw a bit of dust there. Yeah, but I'm not really sure what the other move was there from Gonzaga. Maybe it's some mind games in this race. I mean, as chaotic as this race has been, I mean, we're only just past halfway, so we still have a big chunk of this race left. But it looks like Coden, as he sets another fastest lap at 156.7, that's very close to qualifying speed there. We saw Gonzaga nearly go for a move there. Well, they're very tight. He might go for it here. Well, that going for a move there didn't work well in the other IMSA race here at Sebring a couple weeks ago, but yeah, didn't have the guts to go for the move there. But yeah, that was interesting. I'm not really sure.
And that's a mistake for Mike Clark in 5th place. And I just saw Rolston, in the background, just make his way past. I'm not too sure if Clark just maybe lost it under braking there, but he's, again, a lot of mistakes coming out in this race, as we sort of expected. They're coming into turn 2 now. It looks to be a little bit deep from him, and just carried too much speed, maybe, and then lit up the rears trying to get going again.
Yeah, it's a good thing. It's a good thing he hit the brakes there and didn't hit the wall, because that would have been definitely game over for him there. Yeah, I mean, we were talking braking in these cars. It's just really difficult, and pretty much all the mistakes we've seen so far in this race are under braking. So
Well, I mean, this man has, well, had absolutely no trouble at all with brakes or anything of the sort. John Cowden up 13th place. An absolutely incredible performance. I think without that mistake from Ralston, he definitely would have taken the lead regardless. And yeah, he maybe I think he was one of the drivers who didn't even set a qualifying lap. And I can only imagine the speed he would have had he did and where he would have placed on the grid. But this man, I don't think we've seen him at all in Radicals, at least not from my memory. And if this is his first broadcasted race, then, well, I hope he can join us for more because he's putting in a really, really good performance right now. He's one of the more lower iRacing drivers in here as well, towards the bottom half. And he's showing a lot of these drivers up who have a lot more experience than him, who have a lot more iRacing, and are a lot more, well, they have a better reputation. But like Samos, Woodward, Frederick, all of those drivers making mistakes. This man has put in a good performance so far. But the race isn't over yet. Let's not get too carried away. We've still got a good few laps to go. But I think the race win is sealed and done for him.
Yeah, I mean, a lot can happen in the next few laps. You never know. We might have just jinxed him knowing the way our broadcasts usually go. But, yeah, I mean, pretty much an outsider. I don't think we've seen him so far this year. And the fact that he's just come here and really put a stomping performance on the field, really just, I mean, sure, there was a lot of chaos at the start. Chances are, if that Samoa's and a Hulkinen accident didn't happen, this race probably would have been a much different story in this race. But you know, there's no point talking about what ifs. We can only talk about what's actually happened, and what's happened so far in this race is a very good performance from Coden. I mean, you said earlier that he might have been one of those cars that didn't put in a qualifying time. I believe you're right. I mean, I think he might have been, I mean, I don't know the tactics behind that, but maybe he had a lot of confidence entering this race and was like, you know what, I don't even need a qualifying time. And if he manages to win this race after not setting a qualifying time, starting towards the back, and gaining 13 positions in this race in the span of 12 laps, that would probably be one of the greatest performances we've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, well, once again, you know, the race isn't over yet, and as you said, we've definitely jinxed him, and he's going to crash and die in the next second or two. But yeah, I think this battle, though, that we're seeing on screen, I think Howge has got a little bit more pace on Clark, as Clark seems to have really struggled this entire race. But, you know, he's still in the top 5, fairly decent so far, but he's got 2 drivers behind him who we know are fairly quick in this car. And yeah, this is going to be the battle to watch over the next 2 and a bit laps. But the battle up the front for second and third has sort of calmed down a bit. I think Moldecleve is just starting to edge ahead now, as it was very close at the start, but I think he's just got the superior pace right now. And I've just said that. And I think he's just made a mistake somewhere. So yeah, nice on me. He's just lost about half a second somewhere. So yeah, let's hope I don't jinx any more drivers. So that's Clark going incredibly deep into the hairpin again.
Under braking, yeah, just, I mean, hopefully we can get a replay of that. I think he just lost it under braking there, probably locked the rears and just nowhere else to go. It was either going onto the grass or going for a spin. So as we see a replay going down into the turn, and just carried way too much speed in there. Yeah, tough break for Clark. That's, I mean, that's second mistake he's made in the span of what?
A few laps,
laps or so. Yeah, that's tough way to end his race. He's gonna be down 7th, and from the looks of it, he'll probably stay there unless something major happens. So yeah, tough couple laps for him. Tough middle of the race.
Well, Myler then been gifted a place by Clark, and now Howge has it all to do, as these two seem kinda on the same-ish pace. But remember, Myler has that slipstream advantage, but at the same time does have that dirty air, which is not an advantage at all, and probably will affect him mostly into this final corner, as he seems to be taking a different line than Howge, just getting very, very close. And on the exit, Howge gets a little bit of a better exit. Is the slipstream going to be enough down this main straight? I don't think it is on this occasion. He is gaining, but I don't think it's going to be enough as we head into the first corner now. Is Myler gonna be able to get a good exit? No, he just drags the car out wide and is ruining those front tyres. But he's still hanging on. I think this is going to be the battle to watch for the next lap and a half, as this is going to be so close. I think Myler really is pushing. You can tell he is dragging that Radical round every single corner on this track to find a way past. And Ron, who's your money on?
Yeah, it would definitely be on Myler. I think we saw in the other graphic that popped up, he was a couple tenths quicker on that last lap, even with the kind of poor exit he got out of the final corner compared to Hag. And yeah, I think, yeah, I would definitely put my money on Myler.
Oh, there's contact!
No!
And that is incredible that they managed to keep it on the track. I thought that was done and dusted.
Yeah, that was I am amazed that they both kept that on track. I'm sure Myler has to have some kind of damage from that. That was pretty. I don't know how to phrase this without sounding like a bit of an insult, but that wasn't the smartest move from Myler there. I think that's not really a corner where you can overtake too well unless you're just miles quicker than the car ahead. But I think if he just bided his time and waited a couple corners, I think he probably would have had the speed to get by him. So yeah, I mean, we were talking about Clark. He might be done for and just languishing for the remainder of this race in 7th. With that contact, I think he might be in this again. We'll have to see if these two make contact again as we approach the final lap. Coden with a nearly 5-second lead. I think it's pretty much his race to lose. We've said that about Rolston earlier in the race, and look what happened. So I think we'll have to keep their cameras on for this battle between P5, P6, and P7. They're not as close as they were. I think it may finish this way. You never know, but yeah, that was a strange accident. I don't really have much else to say about that. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm shocked as you are. I really think that was it. I thought Myler was going to T-bone him and Clark would go through, and that was it. That was done. But yeah, they defy the iRacing odds and managed to keep it on the track. I don't think Myler was intending to go for a move. I just think, you know,
wrong place, wrong time. Yeah,
I think he just broke too early, and Myler may have broke a little bit later than he normally would. As you were saying, it's not really an overtaking spot, and I think he is wise enough to know that. But yeah, he started to drop back now, and Clark is starting to eye up a move potentially. It's only half a second between them, but I think Myler has just fallen back way too much. I couldn't get the words out of my mouth there, as he just made a lot of mistakes in this middle sector, and I think P6 is probably the best he's going to do for today, unless anyone up ahead can make some kind of mistake, which, you know, can happen. It's happened a lot during this season so far with the way this thing handles, but no one can stop this man. It's John Cowden, the number 12 Canadian, coming across the line to win in Sebring. A absolutely amazing performance from him, flawless from start to finish, no mistakes whatsoever, it seems. And yeah, that is one of the greater performances we've had of recent times. He can be very, very happy with that. But yeah, Bruno Myler then coming home in 6th place. Haug just fending off for 5th. Rolston in 4th after his race. He can probably be happy with that. But your pole sitter, Hulkinen, he's going to be the opposite. He's going to be absolutely mortified, as well, he was an innocent bystander in that turn 1 accident with Samoas. And, you know, who knows what he could have done had he not been involved. But, yeah, I think we're going to have a fairly angry Finn in the chat.
Yeah, it's commiserations for Hulkinen and absolute praise to Cowden. That was an amazing performance from him.
Yeah, I don't remember the last time I saw someone have that good, clean of a race and come from that far back in the grid as well. I think he started in 14th, which, I mean, just wow. I mean, he was in like 2nd by the end of the first lap, which is just mental, and it shows how chaotic the start of this race was. But yeah, wow, what a race at Sebring, and it was more interesting than my entire Sebring 12. So there's a bonus. There's a bonus
boy.
for that. But yeah, wow, if we can have more races like this, then count me in for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about how this race might be a bit more competitive, and it doesn't really show it from the race results as we see Coden win by 5 seconds over Moldakev and Gonzaga rounding out the podium. Rolston, I think he'll be happy that he managed to finish in 4th, all things considered, but I mean, just to throw away what looked like a guaranteed win. Actually, I say a guaranteed win. I think Coden probably would have got him had Rolston not made that mistake. As we look at the final standings from this race, Haug finishes in 5th. Really surprised that Hauger and Myler finished in 5th and 6th after the contact we saw with a couple laps to go. Mike Clark in 7th. Holkinen, very disappointed, I'm sure he is, to finish in 8th. Ivan Room in 9th. Ayani, he was towards the back most of the race. I think he might have had some issues off camera completing your top 10, and the rest of the cars ran into some kind of issue. Were probably involved in that start crash, and yeah. Tough races for them, tough races for a lot of the competitors today, but very good racing from our perspective.
Yeah, I think these drivers can be happier as the performances kind of seem to get better week on week, which only means that by the end of the season there will be no mistakes and Nordschleife will be the cleanest race you've ever seen, which I did not think I'd ever say. But you know, we've got a long time to wait for that. And yeah, wow, this has been a fantastic race in my opinion. I think, yeah, just the fighting we had and pressuring other people to make mistakes. This is what Radical should be. It's a vast improvement from what Road America and Zandvoort were. Zandvoort was also an improvement, and that was a very entertaining race. But yeah, we do not speak of Road America. But yeah, well, this car being tricky to drive, of course, but these drivers getting better and better week on week. And yeah, wow, it's a very, very good race from these drivers. I don't think anyone's going to come say hi like we had last week, which is a bit unfortunate. Which sadly means that this is about all we have time for, which is a bit of a shame. Thought maybe someone would like to pop in and have a word, but we're not so lucky this week. But anyway, it's been a fantastic day for racing. I've been Aaron Smith, joined by Ron Mons and Smuli Kumo. And well, we all hope that you have a good end to your day, and we will see you next week for round 4.